Now, according to global reports, cannabis is getting cheaper and becoming a growing problem for the industry. Industry analysts say going into 2023, regulatory issues will not be the cannabis industry's biggest challenge. The price of raw cannabis flower will be. Now, retail and wholesale prices have fallen as competition with the black market puts pressure on legal retailers to keep prices low. And this is making it hard for growers to get the supply-demand balance right. In South Africa, of the 80 or so cannabis cultivators licensed by SAPRA, about 5 have actually managed to export their harvests. Now, to get an understanding of what is happening in this multi-billion rand industry, we are joined by Tebogo Tlhopane, who is the CEO of Biomuti, a healthcare business that specializes in plant-based complementary medicine and is also the chairman of the Cannabis Trade Association. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. How big is a player, or how big a player is South Africa in the cannabis industry globally?
Thank you for having me on a beautiful day before Christmas. Look, I mean, the industry in terms of cannabis in South Africa is actually quite big. And the challenge that we have is obviously that there is no, the two sides aren't talking together very well. You've got a legacy of growers in South Africa that's been growing cannabis for a very longest time, Emampondo and sections of Natal. And then you then have, with the new regiment of licenses that have been issued by SAPRA, which ignores all of that completely, and you have people getting licenses to get licenses for cultivations for export. Now, the challenge that we see there a lot has to do with the requirement of these licenses. Now, your Section 22 license that you get from SAPRA is not enough for your quality of goods to be exported to the export market, which is pretty much why the license was created in the first place. So the challenge you have is that because of that, the guys are dumping the cannabis back into the market, which then at the same time affects the traditional growers of cannabis, which, as I said, in Mampondo and Eastern Cape and various other areas. So that's where the challenge is at. And I think, there has to be a point where there's got to be a conversation to be had between, the South African government in terms of how they go about doing this, as well as the traditional cannabis growers.
So what's the effect on price when it comes to the cheap cannabis now coming into the industry?
Well, if you look at it this way, the guys are sitting with stock that they can't sell. And the reason they can't sell this stock is because there's cheaper cannabis that's coming into the market on people that are not supposed to be bringing this cannabis into the market in the first place. And this is where the problem in lies, where you've got licensed manufacturers that are supposed to grow and export, which is pretty much what that license is about, but they can't export what they grow, and it costs money. I mean, it's estimated that about plus minus $5 billion has been spent in South Africa in around these 80 different license holders. So you can imagine the amount of money you spend, and then you start with a product that you can't sell. So naturally, what they then do, they'll just then dump it into the market. So that obviously depresses pricing. But more than that is that the traditional growers that are growing cannabis in South Africa are left out because then there's cheaper product that are being flooding the market.
And with those growers being left out, we know that the president earlier on in the year during his State of the Nation address said that the cannabis sector has the potential of creating 130,000 new jobs. So how much of an impact is then on the security of jobs, or even just the creation of jobs, if we have such a chunk being left out of the sector?
Well, the president, I think, was being very conservative in his view. For example, our studies that we've been doing as the association through economists and so forth and so on, we are aware that it can be close to over 1 million jobs that can be created if the government take advantage of legalizing this already decriminalized product, if you think about it. So And I think if we move away from being a nanny state kind of attitude, because I mean we're not controlling alcohol, we're not controlling cigarettes and all the things that we know they are harmful for you, and yet a single product that could literally change people's lives overnight is being looked at and vilified as a drug, and everywhere around the world it's not, in a sense that you've got all these states in the U.S. that are, going ahead and legalizing. Germany is going to recreational market by next year for sure. The U.S. is talking about it within its corridors from a federal level. So why are we still having this conversation as if we're dealing with something that is not on the market already? The issue here is that we need to get onto the program as quickly as possible so that we can be able to then supply the market here locally, so that the government can actually get the actual tax revenue that it requires. If we say that the value is 28 billion, think again, how much is that should be then be taxes that are going towards the state? So I think we need to open up that conversation really and truly and be honest to ourselves on what exactly are we trying to protect. The criminal entities that have been running, that are benefiting for the previous years and currently, or we trying to actually make a difference? And I think that's where the conversation should go.
But why do you believe that as a country and even maybe as a continent, we still continue to vilify this product? I mean, especially as South Africans, where we have a climate that is best suited for growing cannabis.
I would say it's a legacy of apartheid, a great propaganda that has worked so well to the point where people are indoctrinated to the point of not even having their own mind. Because it makes no sense to me if we all agree that over and over again it's been proven that this plant is actually much more safer compared to all the other intoxicating things that are out there, including alcohol at the top of the list. As we speak now, it's festivity. The biggest worry with law enforcement is alcohol. So why is it that now we are not looking at that opportunity to say, but hang on a minute. In countries where cannabis has been introduced or has been legalized, the alcohol consumption dropped, right? Even amongst the youth. So you're looking at things like this and you think, but are we maybe going about this the wrong way? Is prohibition working? It's not working. It hasn't been working. It actually costs a lot more money. And actually, the biggest issue here is that it actually fuels criminality even within the law enforcement themselves. So I think it's time that we actually open it up in such a way that it can benefit ordinary men on the street. It can benefit even the traditional growers, where people can grow and you can regulate it at a point of use. In that way, it becomes a crop like any other crop, like a tomato, like a carrot, like any fruits for that matter. In that way that you are definitely creating these jobs that we so desperately need. And we don't put too much regulations regarding the growing of the actual crop itself. I think that's the approach we would most likely see it happening.
All right. Thank you for that, Mr. Tlhopane, who is the CEO of Biomuti, a healthcare business that specializes in plant-based complementary medicine and is also the chairman of the Cannabis Trade Association. Thank you so much for your time.